Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of L.E.W.D. Low Effort Woodwind Doubling. I know it's been a while since we did one of these, but I'm a very busy man, you see. So I'm Albano the Madman, and I'm going to do a little guide about this instrument, one of my favorites to play, the Baritone Saxophone. It is one of my main instruments, mainly soprano, baritone, and I've been playing a lot of contrabass clarinet lately. I'm a woodwind doubler, and these are low effort guides. These are just to get you started. There's so much information on YouTube that's better organized than this, but you know, it's just it's a way to get maybe the casuals, you know, into working with these instruments, you know. And baritone's nice because there's not a lot of people that play this thing. One is big, right? It's heavy. You know, usually they get the big back kid sitting in the band, like honking out quarter notes and your whole notes and all that. You know, they just give it to that kid and he does his little thing, and they kind of ignore him in the corner as long as he's filling out the bass, right? Bass, and it's the bass of the saxophone section, you know. Actual bass saxophones are very uncommon, so, you know, this is the next best thing. We get a range from low A to F. All you clarinet players out there, you know, who, you know, you're playing in your concert band and all of a sudden the Barry player gets abducted by aliens and whisked away to Antarctica somewhere, you know, and they give you this thing, right? Let's talk about instruments first, because they're going to give you a Barry. If you're playing in school, if you're in your concert band and they have any kind of budget, they might have one of these guys floating around in a back closet somewhere. It is very, very important with Barry, especially as the horns get bigger, and as these rods get longer. Contrabassunists know this, contrabass clarinetists. I also play contrabass clarinet. As the horns get bigger, these rods get longer, and they go out of adjustment quite easy. So it is very important to get an instrument that is well built, durable, the rods don't flex easy, things like that, because you can go on eBay right now and there's about 4,000 Barrys out there, brand new instrument, $1,500, you know, and you're gonna get the thing. If it survives shipping, you're gonna start playing it, and after about maybe a month of playing, if you're not a professional and you're not using it in any professional capacity, you just pull it out once in a great while, that might be fine for you. But for us professionals, we need something that's actually going to survive professional use. And it helps a lot when your rods don't bend and break as you're trying to play it. And it is a common problem on a lot of more modern horns where the metal is just softer. They don't have the same materials to work with, right? So it's important to have a reliable instrument to play, and of course one that plays in tune. Now we're going to deviate for a second, because this instrument here should be reliable, right? You would think so. This is a Coworth stencil. Can't remember what it was made, because the actual logo, you might be able to see it under the right light, but it's like you could see little scratchings of where there might have been one, but it is a Coworth. It was verified to be a Coworth, which was nice. And they're low B flat Barrys from this period. This is like 60s. New King, which was their most common stencil horn at the time. Sorry about the nerd stuff, but we'll get into the other stuff in a second. So you know, the New King was their main horn that they stenciled for other companies. Their low B flat New Kings, fantastic, beautiful horns. They play very well. They feel ergonomically, they feel pretty nice. I'm imagining they were making them with Selmer as their main competition, so they wanted something more in that kind of balanced action kind of style. You know, get a good look, and you're gonna see something. There's an extra hole in mine, and we're getting to that. So, you know, we have a more modern key system. They developed it into the Korf. The Korf, which is popular among a lot of professional musicians, as are also New King, and they had another model, the Tone King, that came out a little later. They're virtually, as far as the Barrys were concerned, those two were virtually the same horn, so not a whole lot of difference except some cosmetic things, you know. But here's the problem. Some of their horns, this was one of them. You're playing it, you're wondering why you can lip down to a low A flat. I shouldn't be able to lip down to a low A flat. I should just be able to go and get that nice low A. So what was wrong with the horn? Apparently, some of the horns, not all, but a lot of them, they made the bell an inch too long on their low A horns. So how do you fix that? You have people saying you drop a cork down the bell, but that will kind of mess up the response of the rest of the low register. It might help the intonation a little bit. You can basically chop off an inch off the bell, which is terrible and ugly. They're all going to be ugly fixes. I'm sure there's an elegant way to do it, but, this is the simple way. Or you do some measurements, you make a vent. It brings my low A to a pitch, helps the response of the B flat. Everything stays in tune with itself. No more lipping down to a low A. That's the explanation for the vent. Okay, moving on. The importance of having a reliable instrument. These low A cowers, probably not the most reliable instrument. I have experience playing Selmers and Yamahas, and even the modern horns with the softer metal, they're still good. They're still very good. Professionals use them. They play perfectly well in tune, provided you know how to play perfectly well in tune. And those should set you pretty well. Even the student Yamaha instruments, things like that are a good start. A lot of guys prefer vintage horns as well. I do prefer vintage horns, but a lot of them are a little clunky and uncomfortable for me. Everybody's got a personal preference. Like a lot of guys, especially the Barry player Gary Smolian. He played a Con for years, a 12M, I believe, an earlier one without the front F. He has a Mark 6 now, I think. But he played that for years and years and years and years, and, he had a very distinctive sound on it, and a lot of guys want to go after that, and, feel free, of course. But one thing to know, too, just on an aside, it's up to you to figure out your sound, your taste, whatever you want to do. So Gary Smolian's great. But let Gary Smolian be Gary Smolian. Listen to him, appreciate what he does, but find your own way too. You don't have to go and spend $5,000 on a Con. And I think for a while it was a Berg Larson, but don't quote me on that. But you don't have to copy a player exactly. There's so much room for original voices on this instrument because of the size and the weight and the expense of a very good professional instrument. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars for something new, and especially if you go for Mark 6s or something. Even the Cons are starting to get up there as well. I mean, you're looking to spend $10,000 on a decent professional instrument, at least if you live in the U.S. I live in the U.S., so we pay a premium for this. However, just get something reliable that's not going to fall apart as you're playing it, something that plays relatively well in tune, and you should be off to the races. Now, let's talk about actual air to play this instrument. You do need a good amount of air to play it. Not so much more than tenor, but a decent amount. So, honking and skronking out your low A's, doing all that wonderful stuff. I wanted to be, I don't practice doing the rips and things like that. That's not really what I like to do. I like listening to it, but, it's easy. When you're playing very low notes, the harmonic series, the upper partials in that harmonic series are much easier to get, so it's a lot easier to do a rip like that on Barry Sax than it is to do it on, let's say, a Sopranino, which you should see the video, which if YouTube still has cards, it should be somewhere up here. You can go click on that and go check it out. I don't know if they do that anymore, so that all might have been for nothing, but anyway. So, it's very easy to do those kind of riffs, but everything takes practice. I mean, those guys, they probably go around practicing bleep, 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 bleep for hours, and they do their little dance like cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha-cha. So, I mean, hey, to each their own. I, regardless of how cool and awesome I am not the final arbiter of taste. So, what you like, you like. Do what makes you happy. But, okay, so For all those who have never played a saxophone before, but maybe have experience with flute and clarinet, you're going to find that the layout is quite similar, especially at least hand placement. You can see everybody's at least seen what a saxophone looks like at this point. The only difference between this particular Bari, the low A Bari, because they also make older Baris also have, and some newer ones, have low B flat. They don't have the low A. They do play a little differently. They do require a little bit different methodology in playing, and you can find that information on channels that specifying that. We do not. We're just getting you started. But we have, and bassoon players and bass clarinetists are well aware of thumb keys. So we have one only. Well, we have our register key too, or octave key as we call it, because our saxophone is, when you hit that octave key, you get a note an octave above. Simple. Not like clarinet in 12ths, and you don't have to it helps with the overblowing. So you're not stuck, with flute, having to make sure you manage your airstream. Well, you always manage your airstream, but you know what I mean. It helps get that octave. So, anyway, we have that. And so we have a range from low A to high F. There we go. I want to try and make that jump, but, it doesn't always work out for me. But anyway, so we have low A to high F. And, it's a good functional range. You can get a lot higher. But the only thing you got to remember is when you're playing low A, thumb on the low A. And then you have all the other fingerings are regular saxophone fingers. So you have your B flat, B, C with your pinky, C sharp over here, and then D, E flat, E, F, F sharp. A lot of people we don't need to go through the whole range, but let's jump to altissimo fingerings real quick, because baritones can be quirky. A lot of the modern ones do use a lot of the same fingerings as a good tenor. This one does not. This one, I can get a decent F sharp. We finger our front F key. Right here, there's just an alternate way to play the high F. You finger your front F, and then you add our B flat trill. And it comes out pretty well, so sweet. G, not as reliable, but you can use a tenor fingering. You can do high F with your B flat trill. It's a little sharp on this horn, and it's, like I said, it's not very reliable as this one. Some of the fingerings get pretty weird. So we go 1, 3, and add your G sharp key here. And it's a little, the pitch is a little lower. It's usually better to play if you're holding the note out. It's easier to control. The other one is better for trills. Then we can go to, we want to go up to B. On a lot of Baris, playing G sharp. On a lot of Baris, you just overblow G with the octave key. It's weird, right? The A is about the same, 2 and 3. On this horn, you add the G sharp to bring the pitch up a little bit. They're pretty nice. But going up on a tenor, the fingering for B flat that works pretty well on this instrument would just be 3 on the left hand, and I would add the D key. But here, it actually plays a more in-tune B flat. On this particular horn, there's really not a very good fingering for that. On this horn, on more modern horns, you could just do 3 on the left hand and add your octave key, and you get it. But here, you have to I have to really focus on the pitch, because since there's no good fingering for it, I'm kind of stuck with what I get. So it takes a lot of control to do. And you can go up from there. We have our B flat. For B, overblow D. And that's actually a nice strong one. It works really well. I can just overblow D. Other horns you could do 3 and the D key, and that will also work for you. But this horn it doesn't. Keeping going, we have our C, which you finger 1 on the left hand, and then 1 and 2. All these are with the octave key, by the way. And then you get a pretty decent C. So we'll go B to C. For C sharp, sometimes I can get, I'll finger E flat. I'll add the E flat and D key, and I'll add the E key here, overblow. And then D pops out with the F key. Not bad. So anyway, the altissimo fingers can get a little weird. It'll just work through with practice. But yeah, pretty much that's your primer for the Bari Sax. I promised I was going to do these, and we're getting them all done. But yeah, there's plenty of room for original voices to come through this instrument. I'm sorry, I'm sweating. It is like 1,000 degrees in my apartment right now, so forgive that. But anyway, there's so much room for original voices playing all sorts of different music that you'll find your place. I'm sure of it. And that's pretty much it. The low effort woodwind doubling series continues with our baritone sax. So thanks for sticking with, and look out for more. There's going to be all sorts of stuff coming out onto the channel. I just kind of wanted to do this one just to see if I could still do it. So awesome. Anyway, you all have a good day. This is Albano the Madman signing out. Love you all. Have a good one.